NBA negotiations, of course, the CBA. It is time for a new CBA. The deadline is actually Halloween, October 31st.
Okay, so picture this. You're Adam Silver, one of the most powerful people in basketball, sitting down for what you think is going to be a routine morning show interview. Coffee's hot, the lights are bright, and then boom, you get hit with the question.
It's not going to listen. This is a 30-second clip.
In the WNBA?
Yes. I mean, I think the share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue.
The one question that's been burning through the WNBA like wildfire for months. Should WNBA players get a bigger share of the revenue? And your answer? Well, let's just say it didn't just ruffle feathers. It started an all-out war.
In the NBA, I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making, and they are going to get a big increase.
All right, revenue share. He just flat said.
And we're not talking about some polite disagreement behind closed doors. No. The WNBPA just fired back publicly, and what they said has the entire basketball world picking sides right now. This is getting ugly, and it's happening fast.
The quiet part out loud, there's a lot more money being made in the revenue share. A key issue for the players when he said, in part, quote,
So buckle up, because what went down in the last 48 hours might just change women's basketball forever. Let's rewind to Tuesday morning, October 22nd. Adam Silver walks onto the set of NBC's Today Show. Standard stuff, right? Big smile.
Share isn't the right way to look at it. Quote, that's the executive director? Okay.
Firm handshake, ready to talk about the state of basketball. But then host Craig Melvin leans in and asks him point blank, do WNBA players deserve a bigger revenue share? And here's where things get spicy. Silver doesn't dodge it. He actually says yes. You heard that right.
I thought that was somebody off the streets of Portland or something. Wow.
More money. They 9%, I believe, accordingly. They get 9% of total revenue compared to roughly.
The NBA commissioner, live on national television, says yes, WNBA players should get more. For about half a second, you can almost hear the collective gasp of hope from every player watching. But then, and this is the kicker, he hits them with the but. Oh, that infamous but, he says, and I quote, I think share isn't the right way to look at it because there's so much more revenue in the NBA. I think you should look at it in absolute numbers in terms of what they're making. Pause. Let that sink in for a second. He's basically saying, don't worry about percentages. Just look at the dollar amounts. And on the surface, maybe to some people watching their morning news, that sounds reasonable. But if you know anything about what's been happening in the WNBA, if you've been paying attention to what the players have been saying for years, you know that answer is like throwing gasoline on a fire. Because here's the thing, this isn't about asking for NBA salaries. It never was. The players aren't walking into these negotiations saying, pay us like LeBron James. They're saying something way simpler, way more fair. Pay us the same percentage of the revenue we generate. And that's where the numbers get absolutely wild. Right now, today, NBA players take home 49% of the league's total revenue. 49%. That's their cut of the pie, negotiated through decades of collective bargaining. And honestly, good for them. They fought for that. They earned it. But you want to know what WNBA players are getting right now? 9.3%. I'm going to say that again because it's so absurd it almost doesn't feel real. 9.3%. Not even 10%. Not even close. So when Adam Silver sits there on national TV and says, don't look at the share, look at the absolute dollars, what he's really saying is be grateful for what you're getting and don't compare yourself to the men. And the WNBA Players Association? They heard that loud and clear. Within hours, the WNBPA clapped back, and they did it in the most savage, perfectly calculated way possible. They didn't release some long-winded press statement. They didn't schedule a formal press conference. Nope. They went straight to Instagram stories and posted the clip of Silver saying those exact words with one simple caption. Don't you want to share Adam Silver? That's it. Short, sweet, brutal. They tagged him directly, and the internet absolutely exploded. Because here's what that response really means. It's not just a clapback. It's a challenge. It's the players saying, we see through your corporate double talk, and we're not playing this game anymore. You want to talk about sharing? Let's talk about actual sharing. Let's talk about equity. Let's talk about fairness. And most importantly, let's talk about respect. Now, if you're sitting there thinking, okay, but wait, doesn't the NBA basically fund the WNBA? Isn't the league losing money? Let me stop you right there, because that narrative is exactly what the players are fighting against. Yes, for years, the WNBA operated at a loss. That's true. But here's what's also true. The league is now either profitable or extremely close to it, depending on who you ask and how you calculate the numbers. And even if there's still some financial support coming from the NBA, so what? That's literally how ownership works. NBA owners didn't buy WNBA teams out of charity. They bought them as investments. They saw the potential. They knew women's basketball was on the rise. And guess what? They were right. The growth over the last few years has been nothing short of explosive. Let's talk numbers, because the numbers don't lie. Viewership is shattering records. The 2024 season saw some of the highest ratings in WNBA history. Arenas that used to have entire sections empty are now selling out game after game. Caitlin Clark's rookie season alone brought in millions of new fans. Aya Wilson just won back-to-back MVPs and is cementing herself as one of the greatest players to ever touch a basketball. Breanna Stewart, Sabrina Ionescu, Angel Reese. These aren't just good players, they're superstars, and people are showing up to watch them play. Sponsorship deals are flooding in. Nike, Google, AT&T. All the big brands are suddenly fighting to be associated with the W. The merchandise is flying off the shelves. This isn't some struggling league on life support anymore. This is a booming business. And the players who built it, the women who sacrificed and grinded and played through injuries and doubt, they want their fair share of the profits they're generating. Kelsey Plum said it best when she was asked about this exact issue a few months ago. She was crystal clear. We're not asking to be paid what men are paid. We're asking for the same percentage of revenue or a similar percentage of revenue. That's not radical. That's not unreasonable. That's just basic fairness. If the league is making money, the players who are generating that money deserve to be compensated accordingly. It's really that simple. But somehow, every time this conversation comes up, it gets twisted into, oh, the women want to be paid like the men. They're being unrealistic. No, that's not what's happening here. What's happening is that the league and its leadership keep trying to frame this as the players being greedy, when really it's the league being cheap. And here's where the urgency kicks in. The current collective bargaining agreement, the contract that governs how players are paid and treated, expires on October 31st. That's 8 days from now. 8 days. And as of right now, there's no new deal in place. So, what happens if they can't reach an agreement? Well, there are a few possibilities, and none of them are great. There could be a lockout where the owners basically shut the players out and refuse to let them play until a deal is reached. There could be a strike where the players refuse to play until their demands are met. Or, and this is the nightmare scenario, the entire 2026 season could be delayed or canceled altogether. Can you imagine? The WNBA is finally having its moment. The momentum is real. The fans are engaged. And it could all come crashing down because the people in charge won't give the players a fair deal. This is why the WNBPA's response to Adam Silver matters so much. It's not just about one Instagram post. It's about the players drawing a line in the sand and saying, we're not backing down this time. For too long, women's sports have been told to be patient, to be grateful, to wait their turn. The players have been hearing, oh, you'll get a raise. Don't worry, we'll take care of you. But a raise isn't enough. A raise still keeps them at 9.3%, while the men take home 49%. A raise still treats them like charity cases instead of the professional athletes they are. The players don't want scraps. They don't want to be patted on the head and told they're doing great. They want equity. They want to be valued the same way their male counterparts are valued. And they're willing to fight for it. Let's zoom out for a second, because this isn't just a basketball story. This is a cultural moment. Women's sports are having an absolute renaissance right now. Soccer, softball, gymnastics, volleyball. Across the board, viewership is up Attendance is up. Investment is up. People are finally starting to realize what should have been obvious all along. Women's sports are entertaining, they're profitable, and they deserve the same respect and resources as men's sports. But with that growth comes a reckoning. Because for decades, women athletes have been underpaid, undervalued, and told to just be happy they get to play at all. And this generation of athletes, they're not having it. They grew up watching inequality, and they're determined not to pass it on to the next generation. They're fighting not just for themselves, but for every young girl who dreams of being a professional athlete someday. Adam Silver's comments, whether he realizes it or not, represent the old way of thinking. It's the mindset of, well, the women's league doesn't make as much money as the men's league, so they shouldn't expect to be treated the same. But that logic is flawed from the jump. The WNBA doesn't make as much revenue as the NBA yet, sure. But it's growing faster than almost any other professional league in the world right now. And the reason it's growing is because of the players. Their talent, their charisma, their work ethic. They're the ones putting in the hours, taking the hits, building the fan base. So when Silver says, just look at the absolute dollars, not the percentage, what he's really saying is, your work isn't as valuable. And that's the part that cuts deep. The fans see it too. WNBA fans are some of the most passionate, most loyal sports fans you'll ever meet. They show up. They buy the jerseys. They stream the games. They defend the players on social media against trolls who still think women's basketball is a joke. And when those fans see their favorite players getting disrespected like this, they're not staying quiet. The comment sections under that WNBPA post are filled with support. People are using hashtags like Fair Share for WNBA and Pay the W. They're tagging Adam Silver, tagging the league, making it clear that this matters to them. Because at the end of the day, if you love the WNBA, you want to see it thrive. And it can't truly thrive if the players are undervalued and underpaid. So where do we go from here? Well, the next 8 days are going to be critical. Negotiations are happening behind closed doors right now, and both sides know the stakes. The WNBPA has made it clear they're not settling for crumbs. They want a significant increase in revenue share, better working conditions, more investment in marketing and promotion. They want to be treated like the professional athletes they are. And if the league isn't willing to meet them there, things could get messy. We could see public statements from star players. We could see threats of work stoppages. We could see this fight spill out into the media in ways that make everyone uncomfortable. But maybe that's what it takes. Maybe sometimes you have to make people uncomfortable to force real change. Adam Silver is in a tough spot right now. On one hand, he's got the WNBA players who are rightfully demanding more. On the other hand, he's got NBA owners, some of whom probably don't want to open up the wallet any more than they have to. But here's the thing. Silver has always positioned himself as a progressive commissioner. He's talked about equality, about growing the game, about supporting women's basketball. Well, now's his chance to prove it. Words are easy. Action is harder. The players are watching. The fans are watching. And history is going to remember how this moment played out. This isn't just about money, though money is obviously a huge part of it. It's about respect. It's about recognition. It's about acknowledging that the WNBA is a legitimate, thriving professional league that deserves to be treated as such. The players aren't asking for handouts. They're asking for fairness. And if the league can't give them that, then what message does that send? It sends a message that women's work is inherently less valuable. That no matter how hard they play, no matter how much revenue they generate, they'll always be second-class citizens in the world of professional basketball. And that's a message the WNBPA is refusing to accept. So here's what you need to know as this story unfolds. The WNBA is at a crossroads. The next CBA could either propel the league into a new era of growth and equity, or could spark a conflict that sets everything back. The players are united, they're determined, and they're not backing down. Adam Silver and the league have a choice to make. They can step up, do the right thing, and give these women what they've earned. Or they can dig in their heels, stick to the old playbook, and watch this whole thing explode in their faces. Either way, one thing is certain. This fight is far from over. The WNBPA just threw down the gauntlet, and now the whole world is watching to see what happens next. Stay tuned, because in 8 days, we're going to find out if the WNBA is ready to finally put its money where its mouth is.